Penguin Random House presents Savarkar, Echoes from a Forgotten Past, 1883 to 1924, by Vikram Sampath, read by Pratik Sharma. Prologue. The year was 2004. Newspapers and television channels in India were agog with the controversy that had erupted in distant Port Blair. The previous government of India, headed by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, had decided to honor the memory of a freedom fighter who had been incarcerated at the infamous cellular jail in Port Blair, with a plaque carrying his name and quotation. The Indian Oil Foundation had set up this memorial. It was a well-known secret among government and media circles that the assiduous efforts of Ram Nayak, the then petroleum minister in the Vajpayee cabinet, were behind the much-belated recognition to the departed soul. With the general elections of 2004, the United Progressive Alliance, UPA, led by the Indian National Congress, INC, ousted Vajpayee's government. In a swift move, within just a few months of coming to power, the new government and its petroleum minister, Manishankar Iyer, got the plaque removed. Iyer also went on to make several disparaging comments about the freedom fighter, justifying the move to displace the memorial. Both houses of Indian Parliament were rocked by the controversy, with the erstwhile ruling party and now the principal opposition party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, and its Maharashtra ally, Shiv Sena, demanding a restoration of the plaque and an apology from the minister. This did not come, and the opposition was told in no uncertain terms that the UPA government had no intention of revoking this decision. This was perhaps the first time that my interest in the freedom fighter who was at the center of this unseemly controversy, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, was stoked. I had of course heard his name in passing, though it was conspicuously absent from all our history textbooks at school. Having studied in schools following the CBSE, Central Board of Secondary Education syllabus, it certainly seemed to me that successive central governments in India did not wish young people of the country to know anything about this man. Since a forbidden fruit has always been an attractive proposition from the time of Adam and Eve, over the next couple of years, Savarkar remained a pleasant addiction to my curious mind. At the same time, I was getting more conscious of the manner in which his name gets entangled in every current political dogfight in India's polarized polity. How did a man who died way back in 1966 manage to evoke such strong passions in the current generation? I wondered. And thus began my personal journey of discovering the life of the much-maligned Savarkar. As the intellectual fountainhead of the ideology of Hindutva, Savarkar is undoubtedly one of the most contentious political thinkers and leaders of the 20th century. Accounts of his long and stormy life have oscillated from glorifying hagiographies to reproachful demonization. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between and has unfortunately never been told to the people of this country. I was to slowly discover that Savarkar was a bundle of contradictions and a historian's enigma. He simultaneously means many things to many people. An alleged atheist and a staunch rationalist who strongly opposed orthodox Hindu beliefs and the caste system and dismissed cow worship as mere superstition, Savarkar was also the most vocal political voice for the Hindu community through the entire course of the Indian freedom struggle. He and his ideology stood as one of the strongest and most virulent opponents of the Indian National Congress in general and of Mahatma Gandhi and his philosophy of pacifism and non-violence in particular. A feted revolutionary who created an intellectual corpus of literature that inspired the revolutionary movement in India for decades, Savarkar was also a passionate and sensitive poet, a prolific writer and playwright, and a fiery orator. It is rare to find a combination of a poet's heart and a revolutionary's brain in a single man. The social reformer in him strove to dismantle the scourges of untouchability and caste hierarchies and advocated a unification of Hindu society. Savarkar and his views could not have been more relevant to Indian politics and society than now, in 2019, with the Indian right being in political ascendancy. With electoral politics and valuable judicial time being consumed by meaningless rhetoric around Savarkar and subsequent defamation cases that follow, it almost becomes a historian's burden and duty to lay the facts bare for every discerning reader to judge where the truth lies. This biography attempts to do precisely that over 2 volumes. In 2014, India voted resoundingly for a stable government with a majority in the lower house, and which was free from all influence of the once powerful Indian National Congress. With this reversal of political fortunes, there has been a renewed interest in revisiting the lives of several national leaders who had hitherto not received their due in the course of the monochromatic narrative of the freedom struggle that has been popularized by the regimes post-independence. Today, scholars are unearthing new information about leaders such as Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Bhagat Singh and other revolutionaries, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Deen Dayal Upadhyay and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, thereby looking at the multiple historiographical prisms through which one can view modern Indian historical discourse. But Savarkar has somehow been left out of this reassessment. While his ardent followers and biographers have extolled his greatness, his critics have slammed him as a cowardly traitor, murderer, and a communal bigot. Savarkar, his contributions, his political philosophy, and his legacy need to be re-examined and reassessed, both by the yardstick of historical facts and documents that stare us in the face, and also through his own copious writings, which sadly have not reached mainstream scholarship as they have been largely in Marathi. This biographical series does just that. The ubiquitous word in contemporary Indian discourse is Hindutva. Commentators and politicians use the term in a broad sweep, seldom caring for the subtle historical nuances that underlie it. The Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS, and Savarkar had differences of opinions on matters of Hindutva. Gandhi's assassin, Nathuram Godse, in his confessional statement that was banned for decades, mentions his disillusionment with what he describes as Savarkar's pacifist version of Hindutva. These facts demonstrate that there have been many versions of this term during its long and checkered history, since the time Savarkar pioneered its popularization in 1923. An assessment of the political philosophy of Savarkar and his Hindutva is essential to understand the situation that India finds itself in 2019, grappling with quite the same issues and contentions that he had been writing or warning about. At the same time, his flaws and follies need to be assessed in conjunction with his vision and philosophy, since he was undoubtedly one of the most critically influential political thinkers of his time. After all, as American historian John Noble Wilford states, all works of history are interim reports. What people did in the past is not preserved in amber, immutable through the ages. Each generation looks back and, drawing from its own experience, presumes to find patterns that illuminate both past and present. Being a prolific writer, Savarkar wrote extensively about his own life. While information of his early life, replete with rich details, is extant in his memoirs, he has chosen to black out several time spans in his long, tempestuous life. It has thus been an incomplete autobiography. It trails away, even as he got caught in the whirlwind of political campaign in the run-up to freedom, and later the trials related to Gandhi's assassination, where he was presented as a co-accused. Towards the end of his life, he had willed his secretary, Balarao Savarkar, to make use of the corpus of available documents about his own life, newspapers, diary notes, and articles to chronicle milestones of his life. Balarao compiled these in volumes in Marathi titled Ratnagiri Parv, Hindu Mahasabha Parv, and Akhanda Hindustan Ladha Parv. They cover the period from 1924 till his death in 1966 in extensive detail. Towards the end of 1926, The first English biography of Savarkar, titled The Life of Barrister Savarkar, was...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?